Hello and welcome again to BasisPointInsight.com. Here we have another issue, which is going to be a pressing issue in a month's time, possibly. And this is on agriculture. The government just released its second advanced estimate on agricultural output, this time for the Rabi season. And who better to discuss agriculture and its implications for India than my friend Chandra. Chandra, welcome to the show. The government has released these numbers. So let's get a 30,000 feet view. What do you think of it?
Yes, it's like this. As you know, I've been tracking all of this for decades. When I saw the second advance estimate, I was surprised. Okay, because my own sense is wheat, chickpea, and rapeseed mustard are three significant major rabi crops for India. I found the wheat crop overestimated. Right. The acreage for wheat obviously was uh, uh, about 33.4 million hectares, slightly more than last year, 600,000 hectares more than last year. So this year has been a record acreage, but that does not automatically translate to higher production because since February, our day temperatures, particularly in the growing areas, UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, have been rising. Number one. Punjab, Haryana, fortunately, enjoyed reasonably good day temperature. That is well below 21, 22 degrees Celsius. But the other regions, which are equally important, have suffered actually higher temperature. And Indian wheat, as we all know, is at the limit of heat tolerance. So any rise in day temperature above 21 or 22 degrees Celsius hurts yields, and which is what UP, Bihar, and Madhya Pradesh have been facing over the last 4 to 5 weeks. This is number one. Number two, look at the winter rains. Winter rains have been totally inadequate this season. So much so that central India and eastern parts of the country, covering obviously UP and Bihar, has faced close to 88% precipitation deficit. Fortunately, again, Punjab and Haryana, which had excessive rainfall in the Kharif season, southwest monsoon, retained enough subsoil moisture. Okay, and therefore, while Punjab and Haryana definitely are going to produce good harvest, there's a concern about UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh is an important producer of wheat, and it has emerged so in the last 3 or 4 years. For my view, I do my own research. I give my own crop estimate. I am unable to subscribe to the government of India's advance estimate of 120 million tons of wheat. The
Chandra, do you
target,
have, I'm sorry. Would you like to complete that? I just wanted to
yeah, yeah,
ask a
yeah.
question here. Is that
The
based on
government,
your own understanding and your own
yeah,
calculations and
yeah.
estimates?
The
By to what extent would you want to correct these estimates?
Yeah, that's right. The government of India's target production target was 119 million tons. The production estimate is 120 million tons. In my view, this production estimate is overstated by about 10%. I would put the crop size at about 108, between 106 and 108 million tons. That crop size itself is not bad. It's not a disaster. It is very good. We will still have surplus when we consider our demand and our consumption. But it's nowhere near 120 million tons is the first population. The second point that I want to make is even last year, the government of India's production estimate was 117.9 million tons, which again I had commented, I've written reports and spoken in conferences. In my view, was overstated by 10%. Why this overstatement comes, I don't know. But if you look at the PIB press release, the government of India says these are preliminary estimates. Crop cutting experiments are not complete yet. As and when we complete crop cutting experiments, these numbers may be revised. And my suspicion is more often than not, these numbers are revised downward. And therefore, for the market participants to assume that our wheat harvest is 120 million tons will be quite risky, because the final output after the crop cutting survey could be substantially lower, below 110 million tons. This will have two or three implications. One, it may have implication for the procurement by the Food Corporation of India. This may also have implication for wheat prices. Last month, the government of India allowed about 2.5 million tons of wheat export. Our export is actually uncompetitive. Despite a weak rupee, global prices are at least $30 to $40 a ton cheaper than Indian wheat. And yet, probably out of the 2.5 million tons, we may probably export a million tons or so. The point is, government also removed storage restrictions on wheat. For 4 years, we have had storage restrictions. The traders and processors and roller flour mills could store only up to a particular limit that was specified. The storage restrictions are also removed, which is, all these are welcome steps. But given the current situation of an overestimation of the crop, I see a risk that the government will have to rethink on reimposing the storage limits, and the procurement could become a major challenge for the Food Corporation of India. And our own wheat stocks as of 1st April or 31st March or 1st April will be well below 20 million tons. It could be closer to 18 million tons, which is a decent
Okay.
buffer
Got
stock,
it.
but far less than what we have seen in the last 5 years. So all that sends a signal to the market, and that's for me, and therefore there is an upside risk to price. That's the worry.
So, okay, that's the given situation. But let us bring the current geopolitical situation into play. The issue that is happening in West Asia now. How would that then? Would that be the second big push to prices, or is it just the current availability of uh, crops and this stock levels that is going to have an impact?
Uh, there are two things. One, we need to look at the Rabi crops as they are, with the estimate that the government of India has presented, with which I don't agree. And then we talked about wheat. Let me also just mention one more, which is rapeseed mustard, because it's a critical oil seed of the Rabi season. The government has estimated it at something like 13.3 million tons. I don't agree at all. It is very substantially overstated. It's probably closer to 11 or 11.5 million tons of oilseed crop. That obviously will have an implication for our import. So these are two numbers we must remember. When you come to the current situation, geopolitical situation, there are two challenges again. One, energy prices are going up because of disruption of the supply chain relating to whether it is natural gas or crude oil. With the virtual closure of the Strait of Hormuz, the movement of ships is obviously extremely restricted. 20 million barrels of oil move through the Strait of Hormuz every single day. Enormous quantities of natural gas, LNG, move through the strait every single day. If that is disrupted, that's going to have an impact on prices. And we have already seen that crude oil prices, Brent, for example, is at close to $100 a barrel, which is $60 a barrel, $62 a barrel only barely 8 weeks ago. Therefore, that's going to have an impact on our inflation. Asia Pacific region in particular is a net importer of energy products, and most of our very substantial part of our import comes from the Middle East region. And when Middle East region is impacted, there's military action there. supply chain gets disrupted, and that's going to create extremely tight supply situation because of our over dependence on import and over dependence on the Middle East. The spike to energy prices will lead to higher inflation. And there is a connection between crude oil prices and agriculture commodity prices. Often people ask, what is the connection? There is a connection. One, fossil fuels, particularly natural gas, is a feedstock for synthetic fertilizers.
Right.
And synthetic, because gas prices are disrupted, gas supplies are disrupted, gas prices have gone up. This is going to raise the cost of fertilizer prices, and we are substantially import dependent as far as fertilizer is concerned, and therefore that's going to impact our Rabi planting. Rabi planting will start by the end of May, June, July is a peak planting season, and therefore that will in turn raise our cost of production of Rabi crop. Therefore, there's a double whammy. In Rabi, we are already hurt by adverse weather, both lack of winter rains and rising day temperature. And over the next 2 or 3 months, there's a big threat of El Nino, which can disrupt your Rabi cropping pattern. And rising energy prices are pushing fertilizer costs
Okay.
up, and that will have an implication. Yeah.
Chandra, but this whole issue about El Nino now, I mean, is it a phantom? Is it a bogey? Or is it that we are really going to face it? And if at all we do face, then what is the way out? I mean, how can you mitigate the problems arising from it?
El Nino and La Nina are weather phenomenon over which nobody has any control. Number one. Number two, uh, we should not dismiss El Nino as a phantom. El Nino is real. This country has faced the adverse effects of El Nino. This year, World Meteorological Department, meteorological officers, and several independent uh, climatologists have said that in the equatorial Pacific, the ocean temperatures are rising, and therefore South Asia is a lot more vulnerable to getting El Nino in the second half of the year. We should not dismiss this. We should take this on board. Whether that El Nino will be a mild El Nino or a weak El Nino, we still don't know, because it's all developing. It's still developing, and April will be a very crucial month for the development of El Nino. And India's IMD, India Meteorological Department itself, usually comes up with a southwest monsoon forecast sometime mid-April. Therefore, we need to wait for it, and I hope they will give adequate cautionary notice to policymakers, and therefore we have to be prepared. We
So
cannot.
when we say, Chandra, you're right. So you said this is a regular occurrence, if not a frequent occurrence, then what is it that I'm sure we have some understanding of what its impact will be? So, very, very quickly, what do you think can be done?
Yeah, basically we've got to be prepared to face El Nino, which means dry conditions, less rainfall, etc. I would think as a nation we have to prepare contingency plans. I would even think we should prepare district-wise contingency plan, because we are such a large country. It is not that the whole of this country is going to face dry conditions. There will be pockets of lower precipitation. There will be pockets of normal precipitation. Therefore, we need to prepare contingency plan district-wise is number one. Number two, we have got to be ready with all the inputs: seeds, fertilizer, agrochemicals, etc. Third, bank credit is an extremely important input for the grower. Therefore, we must ensure that for the Kharif season, enough bank credit is available for agriculturists, so that they are able to buy and store your inputs. Most important, insurance. Insurance in these kinds of adverse situations will play a big role, and therefore insurance coverage for a very large number of growers, or for almost all growers, will be very important. And for these are plans that the policymakers have to take on board. And if this is done, we may be able to mitigate the severity of El Nino as and when it comes. But we have got to start preparing for that eventuality right away.
Okay, leaving things that are outside our control, right? What can we do as a country to retain soil moisture in terms of technological developments, in terms of understanding? I'm sure this is something which this country has faced for a long time. By now, we should have some ways to understand how do you retain soil moisture.
Absolutely. I think it's a great question, and I've been talking about it for at least 20 years. I usually call it Chandrashekhar 6 mantras for agriculture resurgence. Okay, pardon my modesty. There are multiple things we need to do. Because of climate change, our agriculture is vulnerable. And we cannot dismiss climate change. We are a tropical nation, and all tropical nations are more vulnerable to the adverse consequences of climate change. And therefore, a lot of work needs to be done within our country. One, for example, we need to expand our irrigation facilities. There are so many irrigation projects languishing for the last 15 to 20 years because of probably last mile connectivity, your interstate disputes, etc., etc. I would think it devolves on the central government to bring all the states together and sort out these irrigation related disputes and ensure that that large amounts already spent on irrigation it becomes actually beneficial for the growers, because if I spend 100 crores and I need additional 10 or 15 or 20 crores for the last mile connectivity, and I don't get that 20 crores, my 100 crores is sunk. And therefore there are last mile connectivity issues. And there are multiple instances of this last mile connectivity issue. And that is where I would think it is the responsibility of the central government to bring all the state governments on board. Keep politics aside. This is a national cause. We need to, all of us as a nation need to work. One is expand irrigation.
Okay.
Second would be, we need to infuse agriculture with technology, invest agriculture with technology, and there are multiple technologies that are available. And I'm sure we have discussed it in our previous meetings. All of this, whether it is information technology, agriculture biotechnology, nuclear agriculture technology, satellite technology, drones, digitization, all of that, we need to bring, and both pre-harvest and post-harvest technology.
Right.
We need to invest heavily in rural infrastructure. Our agri infrastructure investment is rather limited, and when the public investment in agriculture infrastructure increases, it will start attracting the attention of the private sector, and private sector also will be motivated to invest in agri infrastructure in the rural area. Therefore, we need to step up public investment in infrastructure.
Okay.
Then we need to educate farmers. Indian farmers may be possibly not highly literate, but they are not simpletons. Like we say in English, हमारा किसान शायद अनपढ़ होगा मगर वो अनाड़ी नहीं है. He is not a fool. He understands. If you teach him to embrace technology, he will embrace technology. And therefore, we need to do capacity building. We haven't done this capacity building at all amongst farmers. It's very, very important that we build capacity building. And there are various ways in which this capacity building activity can be done. We need to engage with the farmer producer companies. We can't go to all the 130 million farmers in this country, but why not target farmer producer organization where several hundred farmers come together, build capacity, teach them input management, agronomy, water management, and all of that. But more important, that I have noticed in my experience, because I address FPOs from time to time, they know what to plant, what to harvest, etc. What they don't know is the market outlook and the price outlook. That is what we need to teach them, which is where I would think the agriculture universities and Krishi Vigyan Kendras must be brought in that mix, and corporates who are on the input side and the output side with the agriculture universities and with Krishi Vigyan Kendras must build capacity among the farmers,
Right.
particularly the FPOs. Yeah.
So, very quickly to sum this all up, it is not a lost battle yet, and we are surely going to see some effort from the government to mitigate these risks that are current and that are likely to emanate. Very quickly before we close this, and two lines. When you said about awareness levels among farmers, you said about किसान अनपढ़ है पर अनाड़ी नहीं है. There is a level of institutional memory even among farmers. It may not be codified in that sense, but they surely do have a sense of the pulse of the soil, if one were to say. How does one ensure industry agriculture participation and cooperation to make this complete?
Absolutely. I think you actually hit the nail at the right place. I would think we need research, industry, and farmers. There has to be an interface among these three groups of stakeholders. Research institutions in India, large corporates on the input side and the output side, agriculture universities, Krishi Vigyan Kendras have all to come together and work with the farming community. Particularly, I would emphasize with the farmer producer companies and FPOs, farmer producer organizations, to build capacity among them. This is the way forward, but it is not going to happen on its own. There has to be a certain mandate from the central government. But because agriculture is a state government under the constitution, the center will have to take all the states on board, and it has to be a joint effort between the center and the states to work together, bring in the corporates, bring in research institutions, agriculture university, and start building capacity amongst farmers. It's going to take time, but somewhere we need to take the first step. This first step should have been taken 20 years ago. We have lost 20 years, but at least let us not discuss this again 20 years later. It should start happening from now. That is what I'm thinking.
Well, Chandra, I'm sure we will not be discussing this 20 years from now on. I see some levels of proactive measures, and I am a person who likes to see the glass half full and say that, yes, we are making some progress and we will get ahead. Thank you very much, Chandra, for sharing your thoughts on the situation on the agriculture front in India. That's all that we have in this episode of BasisPointInsight.com. Stay tuned in for more episodes. Thank you.